Small town. Damn, that's you strictly. Small town. Damn, that's you strictly.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a week where Bill Belichick is hired in North Carolina, Juan Soto stays in New York while leaving Manhattan, we are back to give you the real in sports. I'm your co-host, Small Town EP, joined by Wade Julian, live from New York City. You are now tuned into your number one sports talk show on the On Things Sports Network, brought to you by Small Town Productions. Ticker up top, brought to you by ESPN Bet. June, great to see you. We had a little bit of a break for the holiday. We were all back
Right,
home
right.
and great vibes. How you feeling, man?
Real good, man. Real good. It's good to see you back to good to be back on the podcast, back to the routine. Um, nice little time in Miami. It's always good to go back home, right? And just smell that fresh Florida air. Um, yeah, so we had a good time. We didn't get to see each other. I know you weren't there for as long as I was there, but as long as you had a good time and I had a good time, that's what matters.
I can't complain, man. I can't complain. Hey, a lot of things happened in the last week and a half or so. So let's get right into it. I mentioned in the intro, Bill Belichick, new head coach in North
Yeah.
Carolina. That's not the Panthers. That's not Carolina Panthers. That's the North Carolina Tar Heel football program. I mean, I'm hearing that North Carolina has recently spent a lot of money on their facilities as
hmm
far as like dorms and educational facilities and things like that. NIL being such a big thing in college sports these days. North Carolina isn't really known for having the most NIL money. You know how NIL is very kind of it's turning into a pivotal part of the game at
Right.
this point in college football. Considering that, what kind of challenges do you think Bill will have at North Carolina?
Yeah, I think uh, being a college football coach is a lot, recruiting hours, time spent with families, you know, managing players' families and having to deal with that aspect of things. This isn't um, the grown men's business, if you will, where nobody cares about your feelings or nobody cares about anything. It's a school where you come to be accepted and grow, as a young man. So um, I just think him being older, him coming from the NFL, going to college now, can he adapt to the game is my thing. That'll be like the challenge and what I'm excited to see from a Bill Belichick led program. We know the Patriots and what they were and for that dynasty, and then we saw what it wasn't, and when they lost Tom Brady. Bill Belichick, in 2024, 2025, I should say, coaching a football program. I wonder how that's going to look, you know. And so my thing is the adaptation to the game.
Yeah, and Ryan McGee's on Unsportsmanlike today reported, ESPN analyst reported that this was really the doing of a board member of the committee saying, "Hey, we're gonna putting some money, putting the money where his mouth is, and saying, hey, we're gonna hire Bill Belichick." And the AD was kind of like, "What?" And Bill Belichick came in and was like, "Look, these are non-negotiables. This is what I need. This is what I want. I want to be here." You know,
Yeah.
could you see this as a long term for Bill Belichick?
I would think it would be, yeah, like, yeah, because why would you join, you know, college football for the first time and you know, just like one and done, two and done, three. Like I think that maybe he wants to build something at North Carolina because at the same time, all of this is very random to me. I want to say that, you know, I want to say that this is not something I feel weird talking about it because I'm for it and I'm excited to see what comes of it. But you know, Bill Belichick, I thought I wanted to see him in a, you know, maybe not a head coaching role, but maybe a defensive coordinator role in the NFL. Uh, yeah. So let's see what it is, man. It's funny that he comes to the ACC. He's a North Carolina Tar Heel. I mean, he was a New England Patriot. That, you know, I hated him. Like I hated the Patriots growing up, and they were my rival. And so now he's you know, technically not a rival football wise, definitely a rival in the basketball world of ACC. So shout out to Coach Belichick. I'm excited for Jordan Brand to drop that cutoff hoodie. They got to drop a fire cutoff hoodie for Belichick to wear on the sidelines. So I think seeing him in that in those colors, very iconic colors. You know, as much as I'm a Duke fan, those are definitely some iconic colors. So shout out to Bill Belichick, man.
Hey, last thing on this. His son, Stephen Belichick, defensive coordinator at the University of Washington. You think this could be maybe a gateway to get his son, maybe to him and then possibly
Yeah.
to the NFL after?
Yeah, depending on how it goes, yeah, but and rightfully so, rightfully so. We see Bronny James, you know, doing his thing, and LeBron James being who he is, being able to have leeway and pool, and then you know you got to have some talent as far as Bronny James goes. Um, yeah, why not? This is one of the best football coaches we've ever seen.
Let's take it over to the NFL, man. Who needs help? Who gets help? New segment with the playoffs in the NFL. 4 weeks away, June. Let's head over to the AFC playoff picture. 1 and 2 kind of seems to be settled out. I want to look a little more, towards the bottom of those lists in that 7, 8, 9 slot. Last one's in, first one's
Yeah,
out type of thing. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And at 7, we have the Denver Broncos. At 8 in the AFC, we have the Indianapolis Colts, your Colts, and at 9, we have the Dolphins, with the Broncos and the Chargers last two in at the moment. Who needs some help right here in the AFC, June? Who gets some help? Do the Chargers drop? We have the entire AFC West in the playoffs at this point. So what are you
yeah.
thinking about this 7, 8, 9 slot in the AFC, and who needs some help and who gets some help?
Well, the Dolphins need a shit ton of help. I don't necessarily think that they're going to get it. Um, they have a favorable schedule going down the line. I think they finish off with like they go Houston at Houston, oh, versus San Francisco and at Cleveland and at Jets. They just lost to the Jets, right? So everybody wins in MetLife though. Well, everybody else except for the Jets and the Giants, but everybody wins in MetLife. You know, at Cleveland on a Sunday night game, they should get that one. And if we're being frank, Houston and San Francisco for Miami, they've both been struggling. They're both teams that we expected to win their division and go to the playoffs and be a contending team. I don't believe Houston to be a Super Bowl contending team, nor did I think they would be preseason. But at the same time, with the schedule or with the roster they have, it's a possibility. They've been struggling. I think the Dolphins have to take advantage uh, and really go out there. Well, you know what? Looking at this now, they do okay. It is this. I was making sure that Week 15 was at Houston, so yeah, they got to go and take advantage of what's out in front of them and finish the season at 4-0. The problem is you can even go 4-0 and you're still gonna have to hope that Denver loses a couple of those games to end the season versus the Colts. We're all hoping, and then you still got Indy in front of you, who we don't control our own destiny, but we kind of do, if you will. Like I think if we win out, we should be good. And now, obviously, if Denver wins out, that's the only. Well, no, we control our own destiny at this point because we play Denver, right?
Yeah, you did.
We play Denver. They have a game up on us. That would tie it. And then from there, we have a more favorable schedule than they do. They play you guys. They play the Chargers, and they got another nice little opponent. So, yeah, I mean, in the AFC, to me, Broncos and Colts are probably the last team in. Like it's one of those. It's one of those.
Baltimore Ravens have lost two out of the last three out of their last six, and their remaining four games, June. It looks like a for sure win in their next game in New York. uh, what's probably more than likely going to be a tough game against the Steelers, what should be a tough game in Houston, and what might be just a typical divisional game to finish off the season with the Browns. Anything for them to worry about right now at this point in the season?
Worry, I think, is a stretch. They're still the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're still, going to be fine. And this is now, to me, the time of the season where they got to put everything together, all the wins, all the losses, all the ups and downs from what they've had this season. And you got a great opponent to do it against. The New York Giants. Go out there and figure it out for what you want to do for the playoffs, because the defense, there's been up and down moments in the defensive backfield area. They've been super solid up front all season, but if they can tighten those holes up, because it's not like they don't have talent. I mean, the Ravens have talent across the field on both sides. And so with guys like Kyle Hamilton back there, guys like Marlon Humphrey, yeah, I think they absolutely can tighten that defense up for the playoffs and go on an absolute crazy run. Now, they still got a couple games before the playoffs, and I mentioned that they play the Giants here. Who do they play the week after the Giants?
The week after the Giants, if I'm not mistaken, the Steelers. They're at home versus the
Okay, they
Steelers.
get second versus Steelers, and that's a must-win game. Like we talk about, we talk about, do you want to win this division? You got to win this game.
Yeah.
And the Steelers already did their part. Obviously, it was their home game. I think we're going to see a different Ravens team coming out of this week, though. Like they had the bye week. They get to play the Giants, and then they understand that it's Pittsburgh, Houston, Cleveland playoffs, and so playoffs technically start next week for them.
Yeah.
They'll be locked in.
They got to win out. This is they're looking at a 12-5 season for sure. Is what they want to see. They need to win out at this point. Let's kick it over to the AFC, where the last one in right now in the AFC are the Washington Commanders sitting
And
at
NFC.
NFC. Sorry, thank you. In the NFC are the Washington Commanders sitting at 8-5. At 8, you got the Los Angeles Rams. We'll get into them in a second. At 7-6, at 9, you have the Falcons at 6-7. They've been free falling at this point in the season. June, looking at these remaining schedule, who needs some help and who gets some help?
Man, I mean, I Washington, they're in an odd spot because they've played great all season, right? And thankfully they don't have the eighth seed or they don't have the eighth seed where they're fighting their way in. Right now they're kind of like It's up to them to keep it alive. Uh, so I think they'll be fine. Washington's remaining schedule, I think they have they should play the Cowboy. No, they played the Cow. No, I think they play in Dallas, don't they? I don't think they played in Dallas yet.
The
Commanders.
Commanders, they are at New Orleans this weekend.
No, not this week, but like
Oh, the
uh
last week they got to go to Dallas. Last week
yeah,
against
okay. I
AJ.
knew they
Sorry.
didn't play in Dallas this just yet. So like that was their, they get a gimme game, and then you said this week they're in
New Orleans.
New Orleans. I mean, that's a tough game because New Orleans wants to spoil something, and they also want to, you know, uh, control what they can, or not control, but actually they got to win because Atlanta has that hedge. But Atlanta, what you said, free falling,
Fallen.
yeah. So um, the NFC is a funny playoff picture. It's a funny playoff picture because to me, a team like the Rams, I think tonight they're going to show us that they're actually a good team because right now they should beat the 49ers tonight on Thursday night. They should. The way that they've been playing, their injury situation, the Rams defense has stepped up in the last 3 or 4 weeks. They have all their offensive weapons. They can still win this division, the Rams. So let's look at Seattle real quick, where Seattle's up a game on them in that division, and their remaining schedule is versus Green Bay, versus Minnesota, at Chicago, at the Rams. And so, Green Bay, Minnesota, that's two tough games. You got them at home, thankfully, but you got two tough NFC games right there, which I'm sure in week 15 and week 16 are going to feel like playoff atmosphere games in Seattle. It's going to be a lot of energy. They're still fighting for number one in
It's
the
gonna be a
division.
great Sunday night game. We'll get into that on Sunday.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And so I'm looking at the Seahawks like you guys are holding on. Chicago, that should be the only gimme game, and Chicago is going to be throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at you at that point of the season, trying to win that game for pride on Thursday night football. So I think the Rams can go and win this division, and they can get a little help, if you will, from the NFC North.
Whew. And they're gonna need that. They're gonna need that one tonight. That we'll get into in a second. Let's kick it over to Sunday afternoon. Actually, yes, 4:25 afternoon p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where the Eagles will host the Steelers. The number 2 seed in the NFC hosts the number 3 seed in the AFC. Baltimore. Ooh, Eagles. Sorry, Eagles undefeated at this point against the AFC. 4-0, have run the tables against the AFC. What kind of game does Coach Tomlin need to coach in order to give the Eagles their first AFC loss of the season, June?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a stack the box, force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball. We're seeing reports again coming out that the relationship is indeed fractured between Hurts and Brown. And whether it matters, not whether it matters, it does matter because I was going to say whether they handle it accordingly or not. That's, up to them. But we can't act like it's not a big deal, but it is something because quarterback and wide receiver, they go through this, right? Ups and downs, and they have this relationship that they look like they hate each other, and then they'll throw for 3 touchdowns. So it doesn't matter if they like each other or not. You're still going to show up to work, and you still have a job to perform. Now, if AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts can figure this out internally and just Jalen Hurts can start getting the ball to AJ Brown so he can actually be happy, deservedly so, because he is one of the best receivers in the league, and I think he is underused as well. And we don't want to blame coaching for that. I think there's a lot of film where Jalen Hurts holds on to the ball too long, misses Brown on routes, and doesn't get it to him. And we're talking about a wide receiver one here. So Mike Tomlin, if I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm never going to be Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin should uh, stack the box, force Jalen Hurts to throw that ball inside the numbers because he's great throwing that ball outside the numbers, on go routes. But I want to see Jalen Hurts have to use the intermediate and long routes inside of the numbers for the Steelers to be successful. And if Saquon can get it going regardless, this will be a game too that kind of would stamp his MVP status. So, you look at what he did versus who was it? He put up 300 yards on the other night. So, if he doesn't need to do that, but in a game, I think the Eagles need to win. One to maintain, where they are in the standings, and also just for the Battle of Pennsylvania too, and three, like I think there's like a cloud, you know what I'm saying, over the Eagles because they're at this 9-game win streak, and we're still hearing about some sort of drama, which is never new in Philadelphia, but at the same time, it's always gonna be more okay when you have a win. And if you get to 10 wins, it's like, all right, even here at 8, 9 wins straight, we're looking at the Eagles like, yo, this team has come alive and they are a real threat to the Lions in the NFC. But winning this game versus the Steelers, who have been threatening a lot of teams, and we were talking about them as far as can they be a threat to Kansas City in the playoffs if they played them. Um, yeah, we're gonna see what the Eagles got.
Pittsburgh hasn't won in Philadelphia in nearly 60 years, June. And on top of that, starting on Sunday, where they play the Eagles, marks a 10-day stretch where they play the Eagles. They have to play the Chiefs 2 weeks after that, and another playoff team in Baltimore
Yeah.
in their own division. We talked about how their season started when their division play started, and hey, they went 3-1 so far since their division play started, and now they have another 3 games in 10 days against 3 playoff teams. I think this is where we see what the Pittsburgh Steelers are made of, and I have no doubt in my mind that Mike Tomlin is chomping at the bits, as they say,
Yeah,
to get on
yeah.
to these next 3 games. The Eagles 5.5 point favorites at the crib. June, is that enough points for them?
That's good. I think that's a fair line.
Hey, let's take it over to the AFC. Denver hosting Indianapolis. Bo Nix, rookie QB, leads rookie QBs, and if I'm not mistaken, every statistical like measure that you can have that they are counting, that they're keeping track of. June, what kind of game is this for you guys? What do you guys need to do to hold rookie leader Bo Nix?
I mean, the playoffs start today. The playoffs started Monday, really, getting ready for this preparation. It's going to be vital we get to the quarterback, put pressure on him, and also don't let him extend plays. I don't think that we want to go there with Bo Nix where he's scrambling around, getting comfortable with being able to make or look for the good play and building a confidence. Kind of keep his confidence at a regular. He's a confident guy, right? Like Bo Nix, after the start he had to be able to pull off what he has and do it consistently week after week and possibly win the Rookie of the Year. It's super impressive. Um, but it's always week by week in this league. And if this week we can make him uncomfortable, lower his confidence a little bit, and make him feel or second guess things, stop his timing, be physical with them, I think those are big keys for us to beat Denver. We got to run the ball and then kind of just go with the same game plan you had for the last 2 weeks, where Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor were, controlling the backfield with behind a good offensive line, and you kind of just let him play free, let him play free and go get a game for you. He did it twice in a row since he's been suspended, and I think he's ready to do it again. The defense probably will play with a little bit more pride now too. That they didn't play as good as they wanted to versus the Patriots last week, but it's okay. We won, and you take that, you watch film, you prep, and Yeah, I think it's a lot of getting Bo Nix uncomfortable and making him rush a little bit or just throwing him off a bit so that he doesn't just come out there and have his swagger and play how he's been playing for the last month and a half.
Yeah, like I was saying, Bo Nix leads rookies in completions, yards passing, offensive touchdowns, and passing touchdowns. Denver -4 at the crib. The books are saying they're about a point better than the Colts. June, is that enough to hold on?
Colts money line.
That's what I like to hear. Let's go. Let's go. All right. We're going to take it over to tonight, kick it over to the present, where we have the Rams at the 49ers. San Francisco, 3 points better, 3 points favorite. They got the home field advantage at home today. That's number 11 in the NFC, hosting number 8 in the NFC. June, there's also been, a little bit of turmoil, and let's talk about turmoil over in Philly. There's been a little turmoil over in the Bay Area in San Francisco. This is another situation where for both teams, the playoffs start right now. What are you
Yeah.
picturing out of this game tonight?
I mean, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I think this is a game that the Rams should win. You look at the Rams' outlook. It's at San Francisco, at New York Jets, go home for Arizona, and go home for Seattle. And you got so I mean, your season is right in front of you if you're the Rams. You notice that right now. You take advantage of this moment and you say we got three divisional games here to finish the season, and we're down one game in the division. We also in these three games play the division leader who's up a game against us on the last game of the season. You got to take advantage of opportunities when you have them. And for teams like the Rams, for teams like the Cardinals or the Seahawks, even cusp teams that a 7-6 record through week 14 typically wouldn't necessarily look like you about to go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? You got 4 games left. You might have to win every single game. And you kind of do here, but in the luck of yours, it's divisional games, and they cost a lot. The 49ers have struggled. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I said that. The Jets, we know
Yeah.
what they are, especially at home. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Then you got Arizona at home. Arizona Cardinals, I picked them in like week 6 or 7 to come out with this division, possibly. I would like to see it because they had a great stretch. Kyler Murray was playing really good football. They've regressed in over the last 2.5, 3 weeks. Then you got Seattle. And so I know this game is about tonight, and you asked me about tonight specifically. Why I went down everything is because I think that just makes you put so much more intensity on tonight's game, and they're going to be so present. Sean McVay is going to have them as ready as possible. I mean, Sean McVay is 1-1 in a Super Bowl. He beat Zach Taylor and lost to Bill Belichick, and it was a 10-6 loss. It was one of the most boring Super Bowls. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's something he's got up his sleeve for this next 4 games, but especially for his buddy Kyle Shanahan tonight, where he started coaching with him. So
Mm. It's going to be a good game tonight. I'm not going to lie to you, though, June. Give me San Fran tonight. I think this is a good bounce back for San Fran right here. Do they make the playoffs? Probably not. But I think they ruined a couple of people's weeks on the way to Cabo San Lucas or Cancun, whatever you prefer. Both are equally as fun. Hey, man, let's take it over to college. We just saw championship week. We have the college football playoff bracket settled, ready to go. We saw, Boise State manhandle UNLV, who then goes and this morning signs Dan Mullen to like a 5-year deal. I'm not sure how you go from 10-3 to signing a coach that lost half his games the first half of the season and barely won half his games the second half. But hey, they know something I don't know, of course. We saw Army take care of Tulane, Oregon, in an exciting win at Lucas Oil, if I'm not mistaken, against Penn State, right?
yeah,
Texas fall to Georgia in I forgot how many in overtime anyway.
Overtime. It was an
Yeah.
overtime game.
What was the most exciting part of championship weekend for you?
Um, Tootsies.
You mean it wasn't the Clemson and SMU game that came
My
down
fault,
to
my
the
fault, my
wire?
fault, my fault, my fault. You're right, you're right, you're right, you're right. Such a good one, man. Honestly, man, college football got spoiled for me, and I'm not here to be a Debbie Downer. I'm still going to watch and talk and love. It's just we should have been there. We should have been there for real. And to see SMU then blow the fucking cash to Dabo Sweeney and Clemson, it's just like
Hey,
what?
Dabo might have saved his job. We talked about Dabo being he might have just saved his job.
It's just like what? But what did Syracuse coach say? He said, "Hey, Dabo, congrats! I got you in the playoffs." Jeez, I mean, championship weekend was fun. Uh, Carson Beck injured was that's a development going into this
Yeah.
um, playoff. We saw Oregon kind of just continue what they've been able to do. They continue what they've been able to do all season, and it's pretty exciting to have so much parity in college football and like all these teams beating each other. But Oregon is just running through undefeated, and they've played a good schedule. So shout out to them. Um, I'm excited for the playoff to start though.
What's your first round kind of like outlook? Who's most exciting matchup that you're ready to see? Maybe a dark horse underdog that you think people might not be, paying too much attention to.
Yeah. Um, well, I think Indiana had a great run, but they're going to get absolutely slammed by Notre Dame. It's just going to be too physical for them,
Notre
unfortunately.
Dame minus whatever the points are
Yeah, I
for shit
also
show.
absolutely believe that Texas is going to slam Clemson, um, and I think they're just too much defensively for K. Klubnik and them boys. It could be a good game, but I think that's not going to be a good game. SMU and Penn State, I think, is going to be a good game. Ohio State has to, and I mean absolutely has to take care of business versus Tennessee. There is no way, reason, shape, or form, excuse that can be made up for Ohio State to lose this game versus Tennessee. And if they do, Ryan Day is out the door, out the door, out the door. But SMU Penn State, Big Ten championship runner up versus the ACC champion runner up. Um, I got upset. I got upset. And I know that
Oh,
SMU didn't necessarily play their best football in their championship game in their biggest stage. In their first year in the ACC, we got to credit Rhett Lashley getting them boys to there, but they're going to come back with a little bit of vengeance, and they just got to take it out on their first opponent. And Penn State, we saw them. In my opinion, I saw earlier in the season when they went to USC and kind of struggled. They won the game in a close one and kind of struggled. And USC lost to a lot of these weaker Big Ten team, Minnesota. And so yeah, I got SMU moving on first round.
SMU over Penn State on the road. I'm gonna take a little look into that. I might have to, sprinkle a little
It's
something
gonna be
at the
super
book.
tough, super tough. It's gonna be cold up there. That's a team from Texas going to fucking Happy Valley. But business needs to be taken care of for the ACC.
Penn State 9-point favorites at home. You're saying that's too many points, June.
No, no, like no. But we've seen crazier things. Is what I'm saying.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree. I also agree with you on the point that Ohio State has to handle business. If not, he can probably leave on the bus that the Tennessee players leave on because,
Right,
hey,
right.
buddy, you are out of town. Hey, man, which first round bye do you think benefits most from that first weekend off?
Georgia,
Georgia.
Georgia. I mean, they're beat up. The quarterback is hurt, and they're gonna have to play Notre Dame. Obviously, Indiana has a chance. Indiana definitely but I think looking at this right here, um, they just been through a rough stretch, and so having to just get in the playoff next week and play would I think have been a lot. Being able to take a break, chill with family, come back, watch some film, practice, be with the team. All right, now it's like, all right, guys, this is fucking Georgia football, college football playoff. This is what we do. You know, we're here. This is what we do. It's 3 games. It's three
Yeah.
games. It was 2 last year. Now it's 3. So I think they'll benefit the most from this break because they've been here before and they're in a new they where they are right now. State of mind, state of program is new for them for sure for this era of Kirby Smart Georgia football, but they've also been in this position of playoff chance to win a championship, won the SEC, and so having that familiarity as much as they do, I think it should be a snap back into reality moment for them with this time off.
Hey, I want to kick it over to the chat. Shout out to the chat. Eric J in there saying, "Don't sleep on Tennessee. Their QB will be a Heisman candidate next
He
year."
will. He will. He could be next year, but it ain't this year. And shout out to you, my boy. But I, I don't think Tennessee's going to be able to score with Ohio State. I just don't. I don't. And they can run the ball well, but Nico, I don't see Nico throwing all over that defense. I don't. So maybe we see it different. But and he
Yeah.
also didn't say Tennessee's going to win. He's like, watch out for Tennessee, which I get it. They're talented and they have Dylan Sampson, tough defense. But Ohio State at home, I don't, true freshmen going to that environment. That's a lot. Stadium post.
And he also said earlier in the broadcast that Lamar buy whatever he wants. I'm guessing that's referring to Lamar being a 16-point favorite on the road at the Giants this week. I don't know if I'm laying 16 points on anybody in the
I hear
NFL.
that. I hear that. I hear
But hey, man, I hear you. All the kudos to you. Hey, I just thought about this, man. Indiana, being you say, they're not gonna be able to hold on in this playoff bracket, and they're known for being a basketball school. Recently another school that's known for being a basketball school got a pretty well known head coach in Bill Belichick. Any chance that we see North Carolina in maybe the playoffs next year, June? Fair. ACC don't need that type of business being stood on. That's one thing's for sure. Two things
that.
for certain. Let's take it over to the court in the NBA where the floor in Vegas is set. What do you mean by that, E? That the NBA Cup semifinals are in full effect. We got the Thunder and the Rockets playing on Saturday at 8:30, and we have the Bucks and the Hawks playing on Saturday at 4:30 to decide the champion who will play on Tuesday evening. June, what have you liked from this NBA Cup? I'm not gonna lie, I've been this second time around. I'm a little more entertained by it. How you
Yeah.
liking the second NBA
I
Cup?
mean, I will say, like, even last year, personally, I was entertained because I even went to shout out to my boy Carlin. I'm actually about to hoop with them later tonight. We went to Dave and Buster's and watched the Lakers. It was what Lakers Pacers was it
Dope.
championship last year?
Yeah.
So we was watching that. It was dope. The cup is cool, man. Like you get the courts, you get more intensity because the young guys get paid. Um, I've noticed like the cup games are a little bit more competitive than a regular game, typically, and so it's been cool though. We're gonna get a OKC versus Houston and Atlanta versus the Bucks. We get a the Bucks at this point of the season. I think this will help them because they're playing for something, and it looked like this whole season that they're not necessarily going to be playing for something for real by the end of it. This gives them a confidence. If they go out and win the semifinal and then go win the trophy, that'll give them the confidence to go out there and just continue what they've done in the cup and translate it to every other game into the playoffs. And so, um, for me, I think that's beneficial to the Bucks. As far as like hardware, I mean, as far as like, yeah, you could say hardware. I guess it'd be cool to see one of the young teams um, like the Hawks or the Rockets win that award.
Mm. Who would you say? Who do you think is going? Who do you have going in the finals at the very least of this NBA Cup?
Well, I got the Thunder and I got the Hawks.
Tell you what, man, I tried to bet against that Thunder team in SGA the other day when they played Dallas, and that did not turn
Oh man,
out
he went crazy.
pretty for me.
He
This
went
motherfucker
crazy.
couldn't miss.
He
And
went
then
crazy.
Dallas had no intentions of guarding the three the other night. The Thunder had 90 points, 48 through the third quarter. Thunder had 90 points. 48 of those points came at the 3-point line. I was
Yeah, yeah,
disgusted in that
crazy work.
performance by Dallas. Crazy, crazy work. You got any other NBA headlines you want to get into, June?
Well, shit. I mean, this Jimmy Butler Heat situation is just so funny. Right now it's
Shams
still
versus
early.
Jimmy.
It's still versus Bernardo. You know what I'm saying? Jimmy ain't really saying too much, but Shams comes out with the Heat are listening to calls. Jimmy has XYZ preferred options, destinations, and then today his agent's like, Shams, what are you talking about? Nobody ever said that. Apologize for that. You're lying. Today, that was last night late, and then Shams today goes on first take. You know, I'm standing on what I said. It was facts, 1,000% facts. Like I got a job to do, and a professional way to be about it, and that's what I did, and I'm gonna stand on that. And I'm like, all right. So um, Jimmy has definitely trolled everybody, including us Heat fans, by the hair design thing. I mean, having the Rockets, the Warriors, and the Dallas Mavericks on your trade destinations, and then having extensions with red hair, blue hair, and yellow or gold hair, if you will, is pretty. It's funny, It's funny to me. It's his way of expressing himself however he wants. He's still playing for the Heat, playing really well right now. And shout out to Brady Hawk, who is a beat writer for um, Five Reasons Sports, and he covers the Miami Heat. He's like, yo, if Jimmy had, because there was another report yesterday where Sham said Jimmy had another team on the list that was preferred, and it was the Suns. And so that's when the agent called him out for lying. And Brady Hawk was like, if he comes with orange hair tomorrow, and today, lo and behold, Jimmy has orange braids. So it's just like, all right, bro, whatever, bro. Y'all doing too much. Y'all all Shams, agent, Jimmy, y'all all doing too much. Cut it out. Cut
There's
it
a
out.
whole lot going on. June, before we get out of here, game of the week this week, in my opinion, Bills at Lions. Detroit minus two and a
This
half.
gonna be better than my fault, but this gonna be better than Ravens Eagles.
Mm. Detroit 2.5 point favorites at home. Vegas saying, "Hey, the Bills are about a half point better in this game." Are you expecting an offensive onslaught in this game, June? Take the over, or is this a good old fashioned
I
playoff
think it's gonna
battle?
be a good game, man. I think it's gonna be a good game. A lot of intensity right now. A lot of intensity. Playoff battle vibes. Not playoff battle, but playoff battle vibes.
Hey, if Josh Allen comes out and has a day, we might
Yeah.
as
I
well
also
just.
wouldn't bet on this game if I was you.
Oh yeah, no, I'm
So
off. I'm off. I'll enjoy the sights. I'll
yeah.
enjoy the sights on this one. June, you got anything else you want to go over before we get out of here?
No, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, as we cross this 45-minute mark, this has been your All Things Sports Thursday evening, Thursday night football broadcast. If you tapped in on the live, thank you so much. If you tuned in after a fact, we appreciate you being here. We'll see you on Sunday afternoon. Peace.